وقل رب زدني علما.
None of the other people, none of the other gospel writers who are believed authentically transmitting the gospel, the other three, none of the Jewish authors, historians, or the Roman historians, no people narrated this. Only one individual. You would say, as you said already, it's very unlikely to be true because such an event will narrate. So now if you question this writing in the New Testament, if an event like this is narrated by this individual, how much is he actually inventing? Because it looks like some kind of concoction to make something like
that. Could be the same. You're still wrong.
Yeah, but is it true?
No, I'm going to get involved.
Is it true?
I'm you might. No, but you mind me getting involved?
The reason why is he wants to interrupt this.
No, Mike. Do you mind me getting involved? Exactly right. You mind? Right. No, don't worry. I'm going to help you out. It works both ways.
As you realize, we have a text called the New Testament, and within this we have writing. An author is writing something which you think is fictional, because it doesn't sound to be historical, because if it was true, you would expect a lot of people narrating this magnificent, huge event of this magnitude. What else do we know about it? For example, at the very beginning, this gentleman, this writer, describes the genealogy of Jesus Christ, and he gives the list. And I'll tell you why this is very important, because we can now assess the character of this individual and to see whether his writing is worthy to be believed or not. He says, these are the generations from Abraham to David, from David to the exiles of Babylon, and then Jesus. 3 lots of 14 generations. He says, these are all the generations. 14, 14, and 14. Guess what? We know this is totally correct. How do we know this? Because he is describing people of the Old Testament. And when we go to the Old Testament, like in the books of Chronicles, chapter 3, verse 10 onwards and so on, we find the same individuals there narrated, father to son to grandson and so on. And we discover he's omitting certain people. Now, you might think he's omitted to make a fantastic number, to make a 14 as a magical number. But guess what? People he omits. Like he omits a person called Jehoiakim, an individual called Jehoiakim. What's so special about him? He's a key figure, because this author, Matthew, he makes Jesus Christ the son of David. I
thought it was mine.
Jesus to be sitting on the throne of David. So he gives the line of David to his God. Within this line, Jehoiakim is one individual, God cursed, and God said, you and your descendants are all cursed. You shall have none to sit on the throne of David. So if Jehoiakim was there with this line, then you cannot claim to sit on the throne of David. So he takes that name away. Do you follow? He takes that name away so that he's trying to fit Jesus in this line. But we know the dishonesty. That he is twisting history. He is changing history for his theological motive. So I've given you 2 examples. I can carry on and on. 2 examples to show that these writings cannot be believed. You cannot believe. Because how can we trust the author when their character is in question? No. He changed the genealogy to fit his theories. And because he changed what is already there, he can't change the historical writings. The writings in Chronicles are still available. And when we check the writings, we can see which name he has removed. And we know the name he has removed is very significant. Because if that name was there in Matthew's genealogy, Jesus cannot be the son of David.
Now,
That's a period of 42 years or not?
no.
14.
When no,
So
Jesus to
three
David,
sets of 14.
David to Adam is
Within-
6,000 years.
Yeah,
Within-
According to the Bible. Can you name
he doesn't know what he's
every
talking about.
single person
You don't know what he's talking about.
from Jesus
14
to Adam?
generations.
Can you name
Just
Jesus to
get me a
Adam?
Bible, I will show
can't
you in the
name-
Bible.
You could never name.
Someone get me a physical
people
Bible.
over
How
6,000
many
years.
years in each generation?
6,000 years.
Shamsi's go by.
How many years in each generation?
6,000 years. You can't
Between
name
father and son.
everybody.
Father and son.
David.
We're talking about what?
Shamsi there.
6,000 years.
This generation
According to the Bible.
is not like more than 100 years, is it? Right? So 14 generations.
50 years.
He's go Bible there.
I'll show you. There you go. Here's the Bible. So what's you very interesting.
Matthew just says, Jesus begat all the way to Adam.
Testament and the New Testament.
Here's the Bible.
He says he begat all the way to Adam. Yes?
No, you're mistaken. I'll show
Right,
you.
all the way to Adam.
Since you don't know what you're talking about,
Right?
let me continue.
All the way to Adam. And after that, I want to ask him, how did
Gary, let them
Islam
talk.
begin? That's what I want to ask you.
Let him finish this.
This is a record. This is the Holy Bible, right?
Jumping from one
Book of Matthew. This is the first book of the New Testament. The record of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. So Abraham was the father of Isaac. Isaac was the father of Jacob. So now you're talking about the father and son business, right? All the way goes on, and it talks about here. Thus, there were 14 generations in all, from Abraham to David. So from Abraham to David, there were not 15 generations. Matthew says 14. And from 14 from David to the exile to Babylon, and 14 from the exile to the Christ. 3 lists of 14. Matthew makes it no more than 14 in all. But we know this is false, historically. Because when we go in the genealogies here in the Old Testament, 1 Chronicles, if you have time, maybe you can bring up 1 Chronicles 2:16 and we'll read side by side. And we will discover the names that he has changed them. The names are here, all the names. He changes the name, not just one, many. So, this is example number 2. The example number 3 is even very nearby. He invents a prophecy. He says, and Jesus Christ, who was prophesied that he shall be called a Nazarene. You can read the whole Old Testament from cover to cover, from beginning to end. You will never find this prophecy in the Old Testament that he was prophesied by the prophets that the Messiah would be called a Nazarene.
No.
Doesn't exist. So what Matthew is doing, he's inventing, he's fabricating, he's distorting, he's concocting.
No, I'm dealing with this.
So
One at a
when
time.
you read today, in 2,000 years afterwards,
One at a time.
which is going to supposedly guide you to the truth, and you realize this author is doing all of these things, you will say, this doesn't seem to be an author who is a man of integrity. I cannot trust his writings. I cannot trust his writings. You can examine all the books likewise. Right? Yeah? So this is what we're saying is, what we believe as Muslims, this book narrates about stories of the prophets, and it adds and takes away and distorts, and it, does all these embellishments. There are some truth, but there are also falsehood. And the Quran says the Quran came as a muhayminan, as a criterion to witness and testify the truth and falsify the falsehood. The Quran came as a guardian and say, look, all people of the scripture, come, let us reason together. As I said earlier, let us come to a common ground. We worship none but God, and we do not take partners besides God along with him, and we do not say God is Jesus, or in fact the Quran says certainly they disbelieve who say God is a Trinity. It is better for you, for your God is one. And it talks about how Jesus, in fact, you'd be surprised to know in the Quran there's a chapter called Mary, by name of the mother of Jesus.
How many?
In the Quran, and it describes how Jesus is born. When Mary was pregnant and she brought the baby to the people, how do you think she defended herself? Can you imagine? You know what she said in the Quran?
Talk to him.
فَأَشَارَتْ إِلَيْهِ. She just pointed to the baby, and the people said,
And he's talking.
how can we speak to someone who is in the cradle? How can we speak to a baby? The baby Jesus spoke. And he says, I am a slave of God. God made me a prophet and blessed me and made me not so unrighteous to my mother and so on. Because the baby Jesus spoke, they knew that Mary was a chaste woman.
Wow. That happened when he was 12.
In the Quran.
12. When he was 12 years of age, he was taken and they witnessed him.
But the
saying,
Quranic
"Dad,"
story-
But when he was a baby, he was
But the Quranic
12
story,
years of age.
it gives you but the Quran gives you the story that happened in reality. That's how Jesus, as a baby, and his mother was removed from these accusations of improper conduct, being unchaste. If that miracle didn't happen, how do you think Mary would have been removed from this accusation? By just saying, God gave me a child? Who would have believed like this, like that? If you now
It's
come to...
stated that Jesus was 12 years of age when he said that he was a slave or messenger.
We have to be very wary of what we read now. As you realize, whatever we read in the Bible, we have to think twice.
I don't know which chapter it is, but it is.
Yeah. So we have to think twice what we
But
read.
it's the same
In
applies to the
the-
Quran.
in the
Because
Quran-
ask him how it started.
In the Quran,
That's what I'm waiting for.
we have. I need a Quran. Please.
Yes, please, get the
In
Quran.
the Quran,
How did it start?
God says, look,
How did it start?
this is a book in which there's guidance for sure,
it didn't say
without a doubt.
Can you show me how it started?
Guidance for those who are
How did the
God-fearing,
Quran start?
righteous. This is exactly what we expect from a book.
Anyone had Quran, brother?
So when the Quran describes to
No
you,
one here with a
it
Quran.
speaks to you, to your heart and your mind. And
Can we have ask him from the beginning of the Quran?
look,
Let's ask him from the beginning. How did it start?
He'll get to it. Let him finish one topic.
this book,
This is just preaching, isn't it?
no, this book has no doubt in it.
He's talking to
The
her.
guidance for the God-fearing.
There's no proof it came from Allah.
Now let's discuss this.
There's no proof.
in God anyway.
He doesn't believe in
There's no
Christianity.
proof this book came
Interesting.
from Allah.
He's an atheist.
I would like
All he
to
wants to do.
There's no proof this book.
Christianity.
We have
No,
spoken
he
with
didn't
him before.
come from Allah. Let's break that down.
He believes in things. He doesn't believe in any of the scriptures.
He only believes
So
in his
that's
iPad.
why
No,
this
I believe in the truth.
It's not like
I believe in the truth.
He only believes in screenshots.
Yes, the
doesn't
screenshot that
believe
he
in
bunks you
fact.
every single week.
Let them talk,
We
guys.
have
Come on.
Bunks you every single
spoken.
week. So,
And he knows that very well. So what I would like you
all his information is from the top.
because you said logic.
called that
The
one?
moment you said logic, I knew you are a person
no reason.
with things and
his
reasons
information from the top.
and who wants to not just believe because you're born into a family, but you would understand and try to
same
weigh the
applies
evidence.
to you.
So when we examine, for example, the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for 40 years in his life, you know what people told, what they said about this man, Muhammad, peace be upon him?
We don't know.
For
It's
40
hearsay.
years.
It's hearsay. We don't know.
It's not an
For
example.
40 years before he
It's
received
hearsay.
any
He
revelation,
didn't receive any revelation.
they called
How
him
did that according to you,
Sadiqul Amin.
There's no
The
revelation.
truthful one.
No, I'm going by your book.
according to
I'm
you.
going by the
He
hadith.
was known,
No revelation.
established
No
in his
revelation.
community.
There's no
a truthful
revelation.
person, a
None.
trustworthy person.
No revelation.
They did not ever
Right?
even hear
No revelation.
any lies from him,
This Gabriel here is
only
hearsay.
mistrust from him. So this was a man for 40 years like
All
this.
hearsay.
Right? So when he received revelation,
Yes, and that's why
he didn't realize
that's why the
that.
bag's green. That's why the
Yeah,
bag's
of course.
green.
I
That's why
was
the
going
bag's
to be a
green.
prophet. I knew it all along. He was like, what happened to him? He was
Not when
he was.
Daddy, go and shout over there.
Not when
He
Christians
came
around.
to his life. Rock me up,
Christians
cover
around,
me up,
Superman.
cover me up.
He can't fly no more.
What has happened? He described it.
Anyway,
And he described.
let's get back into
You
this.
know what has happened? He didn't know what was happening to him. So it's not like an imposter saying, "Oh yeah, God has made me a
It's a
prophet."
story that
This
begins
is-
once
this is
upon
how
a
it is.
time.
So
They lived their man.
You don't have to stand there. Go away.
This is just pure.
We're trying to listen.
Information from your tap. This is your preaching.
Daddy, we're trying to
I don't
listen.
mean to mess up your camera time, but this is your preaching.
So when he went to his people, like at the time there was a custom. If there was an urgent emergency of some kind,
Once upon
they will go to the top of the mountain and give a call like Ya Sawaha, for example.
Says who?
People will leave and abandon everything and they'll run to this place like
And you was there.
just
was you?
like even 300 years ago in this country
And you was there.
others, people used to ring ding 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 the bell like and people will leave everything and join them because that's how the whole community will come to help. So he did this, Ya Sawaha. people came running, and he says, look, what if I tell you that there is an army waiting behind the mountains to attack you? Would you believe me? You know what the people said? He says, we would believe you, because we have never heard any lies from you. The people testify about him, and they says, look, I'm asking you, I'm telling you, worship God alone. There is only one God worthy of worship. You should worship none else. Abandon and shun and reject the false gods.
Yeah, but
the
which
gods.
God? Which gods? Yeah, but which one?
Allah.
So this
We've
was
got
his
Yahweh, we've got Brahma, we've
So,
got so many
when we
gods. Which God
examine
are we
the life-
worshipping?
You believe in
Which
nothing.
one?
What's the point?
Which one are
See,
we worshipping here?
he was invited
Yes, which one? Yeah, but which is the one
to
true God?
worship one God, not to worship deities that you made with your own hands, you carve with your own hands.
Worship yourself. Honor and love yourself.
Worship the moon,
Honor and love
the
yourself.
stars, the stars.
Yes, because that's the only proof you have, is yourself.
Somebody take him away.
God you're talking about is how we do it.
We find in
No, but your source starts with other sources for Africa, your source. Right, now my source states. Okay, no, come on. And what is that? We can put in joke if you want, because your story is a joke.
Yeah. So what?
I'm saying your story does not begin.
Interestingly though, when the Quran asked them, who created all of this? They said God, Allah. They believe, but what did the Arab society at that time?
Country and they say this is what we call it.
Yes.
Exactly.
But what-
It's subjective.
What we're saying is this: how God is correcting
This is
us
all
in our mistakes.
subjective.
God is saying, look, when people are asked
all
who created
subjective,
this,
guys.
and you say God,
I can
then
believe
God
in
is
Harry
saying,
Potter.
then why do you set up partners
what's
with
going
God?
on?
Why do you worship an elephant with your own
I
son?
keep believing in Harry Potter.
Reject setting up partners.
The answer is yourself.